in the way in which we apply them, due to the particular recommendations of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in order that when we come out of this month, we will be at a higher level than we were before we went into the month. And the human being is composed of a body, a mind, and a soul. The food of the body is that of what we call food and drink, whereas the food of the mind is knowledge, and the food of the soul is faith and consciousness of God. In this month, one seeks to develop a feeling of worship, a feeling for worship, due to the fact that we are striving to remember Allah. All of the different acts that we do should help to develop more of a consciousness of worship being the structure of our whole lives. You know, as Allah has a say in the Quran, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. That my prayers and the sacrifices which I make, my living and my dying, are for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. This is the true Muslim, one whose complete life, all of his waking hours and his sleeping hours, become a form of worship of Allah. Because of that, we find that we are encouraged to read the Quran more in this month. And in reading the Quran more, we are increasing our consciousness or our contact with the word of Allah, for the purpose of that word changing us. Because we're not just reading the Quran with the ritual idea of merely completing the Quran in Ramadan. This is not the intention here. The intention is to read the Quran with the desire to gain from what Allah has to say in the Quran. The additional Quranic reading in this month was for the purpose of putting us more in contact with the words of Allah. The words of Allah which, if they find a place in our hearts, will affect the way that we live, the way that we exist. So we strive to increase our contact with the words of Allah during this month. In reading more Quran, it also means that we try to read less or to hear less of the Quran of Satan, Quran of Shaitan. The Quran of Satan is, as we pointed out in earlier sessions, music, stories, films, etc., which are not carrying us closer to Allah. Things which in fact give us certain pleasure, entertainment, but when we really look at the content, they're taking us farther away from Allah. So we try to do both. One, to bring ourselves more in contact with the Quran of Allah, the words of Allah, and at the same time in this month we should try to avoid as much as possible what we attribute or we associate with being the Quran of Shaitan. Involved in this month, we're involved in night prayers, additional night prayers, that outside of this month, likely we are not. We may be praying on occasion at night, but in this month we have continual night prayers. This is to, again, encourage us and to strengthen us more that once we get out of this month, we will continue to pray more often at night. Because we should have no doubt that the prayers which will be the most sincere are those prayers at night, when we get up from our sleep, when everybody else is asleep. Nobody is watching us, nobody knows about it. When we get up and pray to Allah at that time, those prayers have a level of sincerity that is very difficult to achieve during our daily prayers. This is why the night prayer, which we know as tahajjud, is recommended for us. So in this month, we get special training, special additional practice in developing the desire to stay up at night and to turn to Allah in prayer. We also in this month increase our sittings with the righteous. In this month, because we're breaking fast, people are invited to our homes, or we're invited to their homes. These especially should be those people who are the more righteous. We should try to invite people to our homes who we know are particularly righteous, people who are actively involved in da'wah, etc., to increase our contact with those who are involved in righteousness, to hear about righteousness more. We should go, they have circles where lessons are being given in this month. We should try to attend more in this month to get additional exposure. All of this, as we said, to increase and to strengthen our contact with Allah. The third lesson of Ramadan is that of patience and strengthening our will. No doubt, for a person to fast correctly, it does require patience. It does require willpower. We have to strive and to struggle with ourselves to establish the fast correctly. Of course, to do the ritual of the fast, it doesn't require that much patience and willpower. As we said, for a person to eat a 3-course meal for suhoor and a 3-course meal for iftar, to stay up all night, in the middle of the night they're eating also. Then of course fasting during the day, there's no willpower, there's no test of patience, there's no feelings of hunger, no nothing. The person sleeps all day, he wakes up just before breaking of the fast, he breaks the fast, has his meals. And this is why a number of people, in some lectures that I've given concerning Islam and the misunderstandings concerning Islam, I've had a number of people say to me, what is this fast that you all practice? All you do is just move the day along 12 hours. You sleep during the day and you awake all night. What's the big deal? What is that going to do for anybody? What good is this fast? This is what they have observed of many of the masses of the people here. That in fact what they do is change the day into the night and the night into the day. And of course, that type of fast, though it complies with the ritual of not eating between dawn and sunset, there is no fast happening here. It's not really a fast at all. And naturally, that type of a fast will not develop in the individual patience, sabr. Patience, which is critical for success in this life. When Allah in the surah known as Al-Asr describes mankind, all of mankind being in a state of loss, Wal-Asr,